Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the comic shop. It's BZ Comics, and this one I'm bringing you MrBeast Fortnite skin helmet. Let's go.
Music licensing reimagined.
So the helmet came out perfect, as you can see. There's a little bit that we have to get to in this video. The main first thing is, as always, taking out this line from printing it in 2 halves. Besides that, I'm going to really focus on these colors. MrBeast's helmets, or his logo, has really vibrant blues and pinks, not only in the helmet, but in the smaller accent pieces as well. So we got a little bit of work ahead of us, guys. Let's get straight into it. Okay, so this helmet didn't come with as many pieces as Princess Shuri's helmet. Now that helmet came with like a lot of small like greebles, small accent pieces, a whole bunch. This one comes with 6 smaller like earpieces, and then just the 2 eyebrows, and then the main helmet itself. Now as you can see, wherever you see yellow on my print bed, that means that I could print it just like that. I do have a big enough print surface with the CR10S to print this helmet at a one-shot. One thing I want to bring to you guys' attention is pretty much everywhere that you see that's red, that's the slicer indicating that, hey, you're going to need some supports here. Now, I'll keep it honest. When you get to the top of the helmet, the top of the dome, you can put supports there if you want, like a more, like if you look at the top of this helmet, if I was to pretty much slice it, you'd see like small circle rings here. So you could pretty much reinforce it to stop that from happening by putting some supports under there. But it's not 100% needed, but it is going to be needed around the back of this ring, under the ears, and some other parts as well. Now the reason why I make these cuts, even though I can do this in one shot, is to obviously save time and save filament. I have 2 CR10Ss. There are some people who do print their helmets off in one shot, but whereas I constantly print things, constantly making these videos, constantly showing you guys how, that causes a lot of wear and tear. So this helmet itself would have took about 4 or 5 days with supports. Not only that, with all those supports, it's about an extra 100 to 200 grams of support material that I'm going to be or PLA that I'm just going to be throwing away. That's not something that I really want to do. Rolls of filament are 20 bucks. Yeah, it's not it's not breaking the bank, but still, at 1,000 grams a roll, I want to make sure that I'm able to make as many helmets and get as much production as I can out of those. So instead of taking the 3 or 4 days, probably like 500-600 grams of filament, what I do is I slice my helmets. So as you can see with the bottom of this jaw, I'm not going to need any supports whatsoever, and I didn't need any supports anywhere on this helmet. So that not only does that save time, again, it saves a lot of wasted filament. Now I know that every single thing except for the raft that I printed was actually used filament, and the raft isn't a lot of filament, so it's not a big deal. But that's why I make slices on my helmets, just to be able to save time and save filament. Not only that, to show you guys, like, not everybody has a CR10S bed where they can print something off of one shot. I started off with an Ender 3 Pro myself, so understanding how to make cuts, understanding where to cut, was something big that I had to learn in order to start making these kind of helmets. Now, if you have a smaller printer, these two cuts should fit. I mean, these two should fit for like an Ender 3 Pro or anything of that size. If you do need to make more cuts, like I mentioned in my Black Panther video, what I like to focus on is cutting on lines where it's one, going to be easy to disappear or easy to hide, and two, it's something that's already existing looking like a line. So for myself, as you can imagine, or as you can see, I cut it right pretty much on this eye line. Cura doesn't have a cut method. You would have to download a certain feature. But what I have noticed sometimes as well is that if you bring this helmet down to a certain point, like that, that's basically you making your own cut, and then basically just rotate it, and then you got the second half. Of course, you have to like you kind of got to pay attention to where you're doing it in that method. But if you don't have a slicer program, that's something I would recommend. That's another little tip there. But as you can see, I didn't cut it directly on this line that's on the front of the helmet. It was a little bit higher, but still it's something that was easy to hide, something that was easy to take care of. On the eyes, the eyebrow lens, or this eyebrow greeble right here, covers up most of that. And then there was just like a little line here on the back of the helmet as well. But there was somewhere where it's not making a big deal. It's not making like a big scene, like you can't really see it. So that's why I make cuts in, or that's how I go about thinking of making cuts. Again, if you have to make more cuts than this, using this line right here is something that I would do. I'm cutting this jaw right down this line. That's something I know for sure can fit on the Ender 3. And then for the dome, I'd do the same thing. Cut straight down the middle. And then what that would allow me to do to take off even more supports is I would print both of those sides that I cut pretty much like this. So it'll be cut right here. And then I'd have this side printing up, and then vice versa for the other side. So it's just a little bit of my thought process of what I want to do to make my time a little bit quicker, to save filament, and to get the same results. I do that for you guys. Like I mentioned, I know not everybody has a CR10S, so it's just something that helps out. Besides that, the file comes with two eyebrows. Two eyebrows were both able to fit on my bed, so I didn't really have to cut those. I did use some supports for it. So basically, the way that you see this one, obviously, I rotated it some more so that way it wasn't like that high up. It basically came to like an angle like that, and then had supports on touch and build plate only. So that way at the bottom there was supports, and then it printed out as one. And then if you look at the back of the helmet, you'll see these little slots. You get 6 of these, small, medium, and large. I don't know what's called them. They look like little feathers, but you get 6 of those to print out. Again, I was able to print those out with no support. You can see this little nub that comes on it to insert it. I just printed that so that way that was facing upwards. So that way I didn't need support for that either. Everything with glue fit in just smoothly. I didn't have to fight with anything. The cool thing about a lot of these helmets, like I mentioned before, they come with magnets as well. So when you put the back of the helmet together, it's already thought for you. Just simply assemble. But that's basically everything that you get the MrBeast helmet. So again, it's the main file itself. If you want to, like I said, you can go ahead. If you have a big enough surface, go ahead and do it in one shot. But again, for me, myself, just for a little added fun, a little puzzle, I like to make slices, again, just so that way I can save some time and save some filament. Okay, so a quick tip. For some people, this might be standard. They might already be doing this. But if you haven't, whenever you're printing 2 separate pieces and you're bringing them together, one thing that I like to do first is taking both of the bottoms of both of the prints and just giving those 2 basic sanding. This is just going to make them align a lot better, take off all those lumps that you may have gotten from either your supports or your raft. So it's a good practice to get into. Even if you don't have those 2, it's still better to do that, so that way when connecting, there's no lumps or gaps.
Artlist.io.
Boom. So everything is good from there. Everything worked with the Bondo. Everything worked with the soldering iron. 2 pieces of 1, and you can't even tell. Now, the one thing that I do have to get for my process to make this a lot better is going to be some spot putty or something that gets into the smaller gaps. Like I said, I'll never hide anything from you guys, but you guys can clearly see there. Very small. You can see it a lot more in person. But those smaller little dents there kind of give it away that, hey, that's where the cut kind of was. So just for smaller things there, you're just going to have to find some kind of solution. Because again, the Bondo does a good job, but then as you start to sand, some of that starts to pick up. So you just need a little something that gets into those smaller cracks. Besides that, all the pieces came out good. So you can see the smaller accent pieces there. Just had to add a little bit of Bondo on some of them, just because there was like a little bit of layer line. Normally I would just be like, you know what, screw it. I don't care, but for this one I want everything to come out good. So just took the extra little step. There were some layer lines here, so I had to Bondo down there as well. A good tip for everything is get your Bondo, get your primer on, and once the primer is on, that's when I would say to wet and dry sand, because basically from there, that's going to help, like pretty much what you're bringing off with the wet and dry paper, as long as the prop is wet and the sandpaper is wet. I just feel like some of the smaller particles kind of get into the helmet or into those gaps a lot better. It just gives it like an overall better finish. This stuff was all coming out good when I was doing like the 220 grit sandpaper, but the instant I hit this with some water and that wet and dry sandpaper, made a humongous difference, even like right around here, around this gap. So I'd highly recommend to do that if you're already not. But like I've said for a while, wet and dry sandpaper makes the difference for my prints. So from here, as always, the sanding part is always like the rinse and repeat, takes the most. But from here now, all I got to do is pretty much spray this black, put the colors on, put the LEDs eyes in, and we're all set. Let's get to it. lot. Not a lot of work, but a lot of anticipation, a lot of waiting. I'm so happy I finally got it done. Again, thank you guys for watching this build video, hanging out with me. Probably just gonna be sitting in my room admiring this thing, playing a couple games of Fortnite with this on. If there's any questions that you have about the build, please do leave some comments down below. If you like this video, definitely hit the like button. If this video helped you, you never know who else it can help. So definitely hit that share button so that way it reaches more eyes. Thank you, thank you, thank you guys. Hopefully, who knows, MrBeast might see this helmet. That would be cool. Besides that, it's BZ Comics. Stay tuned for more. I'm out.